So today we are going to talk about revision. You should have your rough draft from class. So we're going to kind of talk about what is revision, why do you want to do it first, and how do you look for things to change. So remember, when we talked about the rough draft, it should look like a hot mess. It should be stream of consciousness, just getting your thoughts down on paper. That is not going to look like what you want it to look like at the end. It's just not. And that's okay. That's why there's steps and there's processes to writing. When you revise, you are looking for the content. So just how we talked about when you read, every time you read, you should have a purpose for reading. Same thing for writing. You have a purpose. What are you trying to get your reader to understand? So for this piece, most likely the kind of basic level of understanding, like what you want your reader to have, is what are you describing, right? What is it that you are describing? Because you're not naming it. So as a base level, you want your reader to understand what you're describing, but you also kind of want them to get a sense for the emotion, right? This is a very emotional piece. There is a strong connection as to why you have chosen this. And so that's something we really want to look at. Now, on this document, it kind of gives you notes. Again, you want to look at, is the reason why you're writing clear and easily understood? So does the emotion come through? Did you fully support your argument using direct evidence? For this one, it's going to be a little bit different. Really, did you fully explain what the item is using really strong details is really your evidence. Does the meaning behind your writing make sense? You know, if you tell someone, hey, I'm framing a car, can they look at this piece of writing and tell that it's a car? Like, does that make sense? And then have you fully answered the question you've been asked to answer, right? Have you fully written the prompt? You've described something to the absolute max of what you're framing. Now, you are also going to look at kind of surface level organization. So you want to make sure you have paragraphs. Now, remember, a paragraph is a collection of thoughts, so they all kind of go together. It has somewhat of a beginning and an end, and it's indented. Make sure, please make sure you have paragraphs and they are indented. I do not want to see a full page of a chunk of text that has no breaks, okay? No reader wants to read that. It's overwhelming. So make sure for this length, for about a page, you should probably have minimum 2 paragraphs. So minimum at least 1 break somewhere in your writing. Really, you should have 3 or 4, okay? If this is a formal essay, introduction, body, and conclusion, this is not, so you don't have to worry about that. But if this is a more informal piece, do your thoughts connect and flow smoothly? So when you read from one to another, do they transition? Does it make sense? Or are you kind of hopping around from place to place and is it disorienting? What you're looking for when you change things. So you can change the order of sentences or paragraphs. If you really like the way that you've written something, but it doesn't have that smooth transition, it doesn't follow a train of thought, shift it around. Circle the sentence, draw an arrow, say, okay, I'm going to drag that up here. Add more detail. So if you notice that it's not exactly clear exactly what you're talking about, add more detail in to make it more specific. Or if you notice you're reading something and you're like, that doesn't really make sense, I don't really like the way this is, it doesn't add to anything, take it out. It doesn't have to be there. Okay? Now, your instructions for this is to look back over your writing assignment and to figure out what is your purpose. And I've already kind of talked to you a little bit about that. Just make sure you write it down. You want to anchor that. And also you want to mark at least 3 changes that you want to make to your piece. So if I did this right, I'm going to have a document camera. Okay. So I'm going to show you mine. This is a piece that I have written. Anytime I ask you guys to write things, I'm going to do my absolute best to write with you. Let me find my pens. So this is something where I'm going to kind of read to you what I've written, and I'm going to walk you through my revision process. I literally just wrote this straight through about 10 minutes ago, so I haven't looked at it since. So this is the first time I'm looking at it. So first things first, you'll notice the top of my paper have a bunch of squiggles. Remember, your rough draft should look like a hot mess. Mine already kind of does. I had marked up here the 5 senses just to kind of remind myself and go, okay, did I check them all? I didn't get taste. Well, you'll see why. And then I used this space up here to kind of go over what I wanted to write about until I picked what I want. So I'm going to start reading. A rush of air conditioning blasts my face as the doors slide open to greet me. Giggles and squeals bounce off spines and turn heads. as feet race to familiarity of green abstract carpet and hard wooden chairs. I'm going to pause there. Already reading this, I'm not exactly a fan of some of the details I added. So this kind of air conditioning, I don't really like saying air conditioning. I don't know. That's too specific to me, and I really want to stay abstract at the start. So maybe I'll change this to cold air. So I'm going to kind of leave a note. So maybe I'll add that detail. It's not just air conditioning that you're feeling the cold air blasting on you. Okay, so maybe I add cold air. Blast my face as the doors slide open. Again, I kind of have doors. I don't know. I could maybe instead do glass, because they were those clear glass doors. Can you all see that? I think you can. They were those clear glass doors that you kind of walked through. So maybe I'll describe them as glass. I think that might be a little bit clearer. Maybe. All right. Ooh, okay, glass. Slide open to greet me. And in that case, it would be glass slides open to greet me. That's a little edit that I'm throwing in there early. Giggles and squeals bounce off spines and turn heads as feet race to familiarity of green, abstract carpet, and hard wooden chairs. The content of that, I'm okay with. All right. Colors glisten behind plastic covers as they reflect the fluorescent light, rows upon rows of upright soldiers waiting anxiously to be chosen out of line. Now, already in that sentence, I kind of feel like I want to switch this around. So, colors glisten behind plastic covers. I'm going to take this idea of rows of soldiers waiting anxiously. I'm going to circle it. Circle it. I'm going to make that the start. I'm going to make that the start of my paragraph. So I'm just going to kind of shift that around. Okay. So rows of upright soldiers waiting anxiously to be chosen out of line. Their colors glisten behind it. Plastic covers. I like that better. Chubby fingers grasp onto smooth plastic as it crackles. And you'll notice I already kind of made some notes. As it crackles and ripples around the paper, that perfect stale scent of paper tinged with maybe a hint of mildew. Wait for it to see, okay. Wafts upwards as page after page dances in the air, the frantic flip to find the beginning, the entryway to a new world. Can't even read my own handwriting. I don't really like that addition, the entryway to a new world. I don't know. It feels kind of pretentious. This is probably going to feel pretentious to you. It's okay. That feels a little bit too pretentious. So I'm going to circle it. I'm going to cross it out. It's just get rid of it. Don't need it. All right, stack upon stack forms. 1 turns into 3, turns into 12, turns into 20. Sorry, can't read my own handwriting. Hardbacks and paperbacks alike are shoved into canvas bags brought from home, lovingly decorated just for this purpose. Now, I've been really abstract up to this point, and hardbacks and paperbacks kind of sucks you right into what I'm talking about. That's kind of obvious that I'm talking about books. So I'm going to kind of bracket this for a second. I'm not sure if I like that detail. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to add, though. Because remember, the whole point I'm reading for this is I want to make sure I have my purposes available. And if I don't have hardbacks and paperbacks, like if I just say cardboard maybe in paper, I'm trying to think of like what books look like. Like how would I describe this? Because really they're just paper. That's all they are. I'm just going to leave that as a question mark. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do with that. I'm going to come back to that, right? Hardbacks and paperbacks alike are shoved into canvas bags, brought from home, lovingly decorated just for this purpose. A call from an impatient parent, the rhythmic beeps of the scanner, the long printed list of the spoils of war and when they must be returned. I just noticed I used war a lot. That's interesting. I don't really know if I hate that. I don't really love that, but I just kind of did that. Interesting. And when they must be returned. The cold air dances with our hair as we turn our backs. Oh, so notice, again, I kind of said cold air instead of air conditioning here, if it ever loads. So I think I kind of like that detail. I'm going to stick with that in the beginning. I'm just going to call it cold air. You know I'm in a building with air conditioning, but it's that cold air. You know how it kind of makes if you have long hair, it makes your hair kind of go whoosh when you walk out. That's what I'm thinking of. Cold air dances with our hair. As we turn our backs, I'm going to add a detail here because turning our backs doesn't quite make sense. I'm going to do a little caret in here. That's kind of a universal symbol for it. That's how we add things. I'm going to kind of come around here to right because it's the awkward space. But as we turn our backs and leave the way we came, I'm going to add that little detail because it's telling you that I'm leaving. As the summer sun beats down on us, we lug our bags to the car, arms quivering under the weight, but hearts determined to carry our own. I feel like I'm missing something there. Carry our own something. Carry our own prizes? Maybe I'll put prizes. Carry our own prizes. As we are carried home, so we trade, if only for a moment, to share in each other's excitement. We can't help but begin one before we even make it home. So remember, we are just reading for content and purpose. In my head, it's easy for me to understand what I'm saying. Reading it now, I'm not sure how obvious it is. I think coming back to my first page, wherever I put it, I had kind of circled that idea of like I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep that. I think I'm going to keep that. I think if I try and describe books more abstractly, you're really going to struggle to figure out what I'm talking about. Hardbacks and paperbacks still doesn't use the word books, but I like it. I think I'm just going to kind of put a check mark. I'm just going to leave that. So if I want, I can read through it again, and I can see if I want to make any more additions. I suggest that. For the purposes of this video, I've already made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 changes, and so I have enough. I have fulfilled the assignment. I have changed enough, so I'm going to stop here for revision. Next video on this exact same paper, so don't do anything with this paper, different color, we're going to talk about editing, and I will see you there.